With any luck, you should be live here in just a minute. And I think we have audio. Yes, we have audio. I'm not sure how good your audio is going to be because it's just going to use the webcam, but it'll be better. And this is the slide deck, yes?
Yes.
I don't know why it's being weird. There. Okay. And then slideshow. With any luck, that should be working. You may want to sit down here. Oh, I think we have an HDMI.
Yeah, there's one right here.
Yeah, can I have that? Because that would make this a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
I assumed he was already doing that.
I did do that because
Change the HDMI so
Yeah. And then, like, display. And then it should work. I have no idea what's going on.
we have elections now.
Probably. I don't know. What's your channel name?
CWVWA.
He's probably on the old.
Do we have anything that's there now?
You got the episode. Hey, text me if you can hear me.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sure.
What?
Suppose.
Yeah, there's two live
There's
streams running
two.
right now.
Two now.
But are either one of them actually functioning?
That should be the
Yeah.
That's
The one that
This one? That one?
one that's just Brandon Terry live stream.
not there.
My phone might be acting up too.
How would you like me to send that to you?
My text message.
Alright, what is your phone
Well, we can
number?
hear it and we can see it, so I think we're good.
Okay.
And the reason why the name's wrong, and if you want to fix it, you can go to the YouTube comments.
Yes,
Oh,
like
he
that
has.
now.
We're good.
Okay, cool.
All that way. That was wrong.
I
You
think
jackass.
You got it? 304 677 26.
15.
You want to post a new link in the
Just
Facebook
remember,
group?
everything you're saying is being broadcasted to the end.
That was good. I think they just broke an FCC violation. Yeah, you can go on your little tirade.
I'm out. I'm like conscious.
Sorry guys for all the delays.
Facebook.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Meshtastic is a mesh network.
Well, it's cool.
Which we've already got that work. So Meshtastic is worldwide. It does operate at different frequencies in different countries, with quite a bit of the U.S. actually using it. We don't have so many in West Virginia, but we're hoping to change that. That was a map from last week. Here is a current map of West Virginia. So you can see we've added a few.
And those are only nodes that are connected to the internet via the MQTT gateway. So it doesn't show all the nodes.
Could be a bunch of personal ones around.
Yeah, that aren't internet connected. Yeah.
But some of these that's interesting. Pretty high in elevation, aren't they?
I got one on the W8SP tower last week, and Jason, KD8FDD, he was able to talk to Flo and Elkins going through that tower. That tower is reaching theirs on their tower in Elkins.
Where did you say is the 88 SP tower?
It is it's off of East Grafton Road, Williams Crossroads Way. It's up on top of the hill there. I got it about 80 feet up on the tower.
Is it closer to Grafton or Morgantown?
It's closer to Fairmont.
Oh,
Yeah, it's in between Fairmont and Grafton. It's Fairmont side of Valley Falls. But yeah, this morning I have a node up here on Jerry Dove at the office where I work, and I was able to text Jason from Jerry Dove through that node on the tower to him at his house, all over RF.
So what exactly is Meshtastic? Meshtastic is an open source project for long range, low power, mesh-based text communication. Works without cell phone towers, internet, or repeaters. Uses LoRa radios in the 902 to the 928 MHz ISM band in the US, which is license free. All messages are end-to-end encrypted. Are you excited yet?
oh yeah.
It's offline texting. That's pretty much what it does. Meshtastic can send text in very small data packets like GPS coordinates and sensor data. It's relatively cheap, completely open, and the LoRa protocol is pretty amazing. It has one job and does it really well. It can send text messages and data chunks. What's the big deal? We have cell phones and Wi-Fi. Well, LoRa and Meshtastic do those text messages really well with no help from anything else. No cell towers, no internet, no dependencies. No cell phone service, no problem. No Wi-Fi. No line of sight, no power grid. Lots of noise, no problem. How a mesh works. Each node acts as both a user device and a relay. Messages hop across multiple nodes to reach their destination. You can get 1 to 20 miles range per hop depending on the antenna, the elevation, and the terrain. More nodes equals stronger and wider coverage.
What wattage are we typically looking at?
It is under a watt.
Even for your big ones up on towers?
Yes. Um, there's a couple nodes that you can get that are higher than a watt. Station G2 is 5.5 watts, but it requires PD power, or I mean, it's hard to run off like solar. We try and put the ones up high as solar nodes. That way, they're always on.
Okay.
Heltec just came out with the Heltec V4 development board, which is 1 watt. So that's legally to not have to use your amateur radio license. You need to stay below that 1 watt limit.
This is an ham space, is it?
It is. It's in the 33 centimeter ham band. So you can bump up the power, but you are not allowed to use encryption if you do that
Oh, yeah.
with a ham license.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't play well with the people that have it encrypted.
Gotcha.
So when you send a message on your Meshtastic companion app, it is relayed to the radio using Bluetooth, Wi-Fi or Ethernet, or serial connection. The message is then rebroadcasted by the radio. If it doesn't receive a confirmation from any other device, after a certain timeout, it will transmit the message up to 3 times. When a receiving radio captures a packet, it checks to see if it has heard the message before. If it has, it ignores the message, and if it hasn't, it will rebroadcast it. For each message a radio rebroadcasts, it marks the hop limit, down by 1. When a radio receives a packet with a hop limit of 0, it will not rebroadcast the message. The radio itself will store a small amount of packets, around 30 typically. It's when it's not connected to a client app. If it's full, it will replace the oldest packets with newly incoming text messages only. There's a little diagram of core features. Encryption. 256-bit encryption between nodes. It stores and forwards messaging through mesh hops. You can share your location via GPS. It does use a lot more power to have GPS enabled, of course. Customizable channels for privacy and group management. Unique channel key controls who can read the messages. There is no central server. Communication is peer-to-peer. Low power usage. Can run days or weeks on a battery pack. Some device options. The Heltec V3, which is an affordable screen, has a screen, USB-C charging, and a built-in antenna. There are some other options there. The Oligo T-Beam has GPS, LoRa, battery holder, and an external SMA antenna.
Hey, you're saying portable. What's price?
The V3 you can get for like
They vary on Amazon, 15 to $25, but that's a bare board with no battery, no case, no.
a full node without GPS is
Upgraded
around
antenna.
50 with the case in. No.
Often you get a pair of a kit for 60, $62.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
The Meshtastic on Amazon, they have lots of good deals for kits like that.
So of course you can get a pre-built kit or a DIY build. Some practical use cases. Hiking and camping. Group connection without cell service. Emergency neighborhood mesh. So when cell phone towers go down, the mesh network will still be up as long as everyone still has battery power or solar power. To coordinate during events. Off-road convoys. Especially in West Virginia, there's lots of places without cell phone service. So the mesh still will work. Typical stock range from node to node is from 2 to 5 miles. Then line of sight, this can be much further with some hop connections hitting well over 10 miles. 3 radios could easily reach 15 to 30 miles on 100 megawatt, or, well, yeah, milliwatts. Yeah. And they're stock antennas. So there are lots of power and antenna options. USB battery packs, solar panels, LiPo4 packs. You get waterproof enclosures for permanent nodes. Okay. So
See, I've got a question.
okay.
I thought, with everything that I've read for a while now, that there were 7 hops. You could go up to 7 hops.
Default is 3. You can change it in the settings to where it'll do 7 hops.
Because I know with where I live way out past Loverport, you know, up Jones Run, and I have the hill behind the farm. But if it's only 3 hops, it would never work for me. I mean, even to get into town, just with where I live. That's why I was thinking, that they were 7 hops.
Yeah, default's 3. You have to change it to 7 if you want 7.
So are most of them set up then around here for 3 hops? Then?
Yes.
So even if I would put one of the nodes up on top of the hill and set it to 7.
Well, since it's a flood routing system, it's that 3 hops is 1 hop goes to every node it can reach, and then all those nodes will go to every node they can reach. So, I mean, it still carries on pretty far.
So does changing the packet from a TT from a time to live to from 3 to 7, does that set it on everything you send, or does that then?
Yes.
So like if I have mine set at 7 and yours is set at 3 and I run to you, you would decrement down to 6.
Yes.
You wouldn't drop my packet because
No.
it's higher than your back.
No.
Okay.
No.
So it's based on the sending node
Okay.
only then.
Yes.
I was wondering because, I was thinking, with where I live, if it can only get 3 hops, it would do no good for me to put one in where.
Yeah,
So
I
you
mean,
could
if
put
your
something-
messages aren't getting out on the default of 3, bump up the number.
Okay. So it's about the halfway point for the presentation, but we're going to do the giveaways. On the Facebook group, we done the mesh pocket.
But keep in mind they can only see the browser tab. Like your browser interface.
Okay. So the winner would be S. George Schapp.
Well, we hit the button again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about it again.
So this
Email address and a
Oh yeah, that's awesome. So we can figure out where this guy lives.
yeah, we don't want to dig that deep.
Well, we got Byron from the Huntington area donated 3 more nodes to give away. So
And that's what the tickets were for. So you want to grab one and
yeah, sure.
do them one by one, so you know which one, which. Because I don't which here.
Um, this is a kit. The Seed View Tracker, I think L1. So
Seed tracker, right?
yeah. So it has everything you need to build a node. Yeah, draw some of it. All right. We have ending in 603.
What are you doing?
Which one's everything we read?
This says, yes, everything. Well done.
I expected to feel here this evening.
Okay, hey, and we don't have to slaughter. We don't have to slaughter to check on it.
You know, I'm gonna
I
kind of
believe this has a Heltec board in it. No, I'm wrong. It's a rack board in this. It's got built-in GPS as well. It's one
this would be a bill.
Byron Hill. And we've got 595. There we go.
Heck, if that wow, about 40 feet up here. They're on the hill behind the house, but
And what's we got here?
this is what I was wondering. Because that's nice.
Yeah, they're 240,
Yeah.
probably 260.
I was trying to get the rich longer and get it with right now.
Yeah, this is the 12-inch antenna, and he sells a
64 or something like that.
something like that. All right, this is another node. Byron 3D printed and built. It's a vehicle node. It's got a rack wireless board, GPS. It's magnetic, so he's getting rid of it because he just bought a Ford truck. This is the one I want. All right, we've got 604.
Well, I'll be darned.
There you go.
Yellow one.
And I've got a plastic roof.
Super. Yeah. It's got a. Yeah, he's got a key on a cell.
Solar power.
That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that's like,
Put it on there. Look at those 100 miles an hour.
shut up.
I got a question.
Okay.
You know, one of the reasons kind of that I got into ham radio to begin with, kind of like a prepper thing. I mean, I'm not an out and out prepper, but you know, I know that things go down, things go hot, things can be bad. And this intrigues me because if I made sure that every one of my neighbors that lives within a mile, because I live in a rural area, has one of these, it would work all the time, right?
Yes.
Now, I know from previous employment and stuff, if there's an emergency someplace, Bridgeport can take their Bridgeport emergency management vehicle and they can block cell phone signals. So the kids in the school can't be talking on the phone if there's an emergency or an active shooter or whatever.
Yeah.
What about this?
They're not likely to block that. That is,
And then the whole thing about it is,
it's made to operate with a lot of noise.
It's one of them things that you hope never happens, but if something goes on in the neighborhood, you know, where somebody's doing something that they shouldn't be doing, you know, it'd be really neat if all the neighbors down the road could be alerted to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be pretty cool. And this might be the answer for that.
Right.
Yes, I agree.
Cool. I mean, that's really what I'm thinking,
Yeah, it should be outside the spectrum space for cell phone jammers.
So I've got, I've got say 7 or 8 neighbors that
I think
really trust that I
cell
know that
phones
that all have capabilities,
Mm.
and it'd be neat.
I think cell phones operate in like 868 range in the US, so that's just
I
above
could see
that.
this. I could see this happening. Okay.
And I think I understand it well enough, but maybe to help, I don't know if this helps somebody to kind of dumb this down. The node is basically just like your router.
Yeah.
You pair your phone to the node.
Yes.
If you don't have
Now,
direct entry on the
yes.
internet.
Now, if you go into the software, you can set up pre-canned messages. And if you're on one of the later versions of the software, or you have a node that you build with a rotary encoder, you can scroll through the pre-canned messages and send those. That node's got a little joystick. You'll be able to go through messages that are already programmed in and send those out if you wanted without a cell phone, but it works best with the cell phone unless you buy. I mean, you can also buy like a T-Deck, or there's a couple other um, nodes you can buy that have full keyboard on it.
If you have neighbors that are not tech savvy, once they know how to pair to a device, they can use their.
And I am
app
correct in
just like
saying
a text
the
message.
other lure
Right.
nodes
So
actually
if
show up
you
in the
would have to have
Meshtastic
cell
app, correct?
service.
Like
No, 100% not.
Right.
What is
And
it?
weather
that's
sensors and
Well,
stuff, they'll show up in
right here,
Meshtastic
in
too,
theory,
correct?
in a
Yes.
cell
So
phone,
that's another
it's
quick
just
point for,
like
especially for
that.
him, that was.
That just Bluetooth into it. And then you have a connection into your node.
So you could
I
have.
wanted to confirm
oh,
that
okay,
before
you
I
wouldn't have to have
mentioned
cell
it.
service at all.
No,
You can use it
I've seen some of
Use
them,
no
but
cell.
No,
no.
like
Your iPhone 10.
yeah, the only
An iPad.
that
These
at
days,
LaVox Beacon,
Bluetooth
I've
is
got
wild.
temperature and humidity in
Yeah.
it. So if you go
even if
like
you add in your
So
cell phone service or your Wi-Fi,
Meshtastic app,
MQTT router,
Beacon,
which is just another way
scroll
of
down. I
using
mean,
the
it's
internet.
in
It's still going to this
Celsius for
box,
some reason,
so
but
I'm
it's
still encrypting my
24 and
message. This is
66%
giving me
humidity.
permission
That's the
to
biggest thing is the
use
breakable
my
limit.
device as an MQTT, which is using the
I-
Derek and I can text even though we are
Yeah, but they have
around each other. We can do private
But they
text.
have to get their
encrypted
phone
just
to
like
pair
that.
to the device.
So outside of Meshtastic, there are also other lure nodes or different functions that, like his node there actually does the weather, like temperature and humidity as well, and that shows up in the Meshtastic app for everyone to see.
What do you think about the sense caps?
Which one? I mean,
The Seed Studio sense cap.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ones Seed Studio makes, but yeah, I mean,
They're still
they're
out of,
all pretty equal. Um,
they're out of stock, though, right?
They are currently.
Yeah, I was like next month before they come back in.
Yeah, I heard that this one was good. I saw somebody do.
Yeah,
it.
looking at like the tracker.
This one's the tracker. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the track, and then yeah, that's the one he just won.
You have Android or
That's the track rail one. That's the one he just won.
So if you want to look at, you can look for Meshtastic. The one I'm looking at is kind of like a credit card. So
Yeah, that one has an IP rating on it. The one
Yeah.
you're looking at,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool as well. It's internal antenna, so the range isn't as good with an internal antenna.
I just got a different antenna on that.
There are also companies out there to be aware of that's charging 10, 20 times the amount that for certain products. So just do your due diligence and research and look at specs, and then sometimes if it's looks all shiny and with a really high price tag, you could probably either DIY it for a tenth of the cost or go to another. Yeah.
I looked through the menu. That's about all I know how to do. That's me.
Does that have the alpha firmware on it, or is it beta? Do you know?
It's got the beta.
Okay. The alpha adds a lot more menu functionality with the single button.
Knowing my intelligence, not that I'm with my ADHD and autism, I'll end up frying that board if I try doing anything else.
You're not going to fry.
The Army handles
Same thing like that, man. I am the beta tester.
He's there to see your comments.
And the reason safe.
Okay, brief on how to get started. Purchase a compatible node, flashing the firmware, which you can do via the web flasher or over the air. Pair with the phone or via the Bluetooth or USB. Set a channel name and encryption key, and then test with a friend and expand the coverage. How to set up Meshtastic. I found this gentleman on YouTube, Iron Cabin. There was a brief 15-minute tutorial on how to actually flash the nodes, and we'll go ahead and watch that.
In this video, you'll learn why Meshtastic is an emergency device that everybody should have, and you'll learn the easiest and cheapest way to get started with Meshtastic in as little as 15 minutes. Anyone can do it as long as you follow the steps in this tutorial. How's it? My name is Hugh, and first I'll quickly explain how Meshtastic works. If you already know how it works, use the timestamps below to get to the appropriate chapter. Meshtastic is basically a person-to-person communication network that allows you to send messages to people via your smartphone and an attached radio. You can send messages over fairly long distances without a cell phone plan or the internet. Once you buy the equipment, there is no license to apply for, and there's no subscription fee. The messages are sent over radio waves, similar to how a radio station broadcasts, except you can send private messages also via Meshtastic. Now the radio can be very small and inexpensive like this one. It's called a LoRa radio, and that's short for long range. What you do is you connect the radio to your smartphone via Bluetooth, and then you use the messaging app on your phone to send and receive messages. What makes Meshtastic great is that every radio on the network can relay messages from other radios, extending the range that you can send a message. And if you send it over an encrypted private channel, other radios cannot see what you are sending. This means that you can send messages over longer distances compared to direct communication methods like walkie-talkies. Meshtastic says that the longest distance a message has been sent is 331 kilometers or 205 miles. However, the maximum distance that you can send a message will depend on things like how high are you in elevation, are there physical objects blocking the signal, what kind of antenna are you using, and is there interference in the air. Individual results will vary by location and equipment used. So I think you can see by now, if a lot of people in your area have a radio, you can communicate with people over fairly long distances, even if the cell towers are not working. Some areas like Southern California have a lot of people using Meshtastic, so it's easier to send messages in those areas. Now there is a limit to the number of times that your message can get relayed, and that's so that the network doesn't get overloaded with relays. So there is a limit to how far you can send a message. For example, you can't send a message to somebody on the other side of the world. At least not yet. Okay, now that you understand how Meshtastic works, I'm going to show you how to get up and running really quickly and for cheap. Now you can get a very basic board for about $15, but I would highly recommend getting one of these kits because it has an all-in-one enclosure and you can take this with you. The easiest and cheapest way to get started with this, as this video is being recorded, is to use the Heltec LoRa32V3 board. Now in the future there will obviously be newer boards, but these instructions will be very similar and will still apply. There are also several self-contained devices that you can buy, and those are all-in-one units. In that case, you don't need a cell phone because those devices have a keyboard and a screen on it, and those are great things to have if you don't want to carry your cell phone around. Now in this tutorial, I'm just going to keep it super simple, but if in the future you want to explore those possibilities and continue with this hobby, then I would highly recommend checking out those devices. Links are in the description below. This is the completed kit I'm going to show you how to assemble in this video. I got it off of Amazon. It was about $33, and I would highly recommend getting 2 of them because you want to be able to hook them up to 2 phones and talk back and forth and really see how this works, because you might not have somebody else to talk to if you only have one radio. So if you want to pick up this kit, the link is also provided in the description below. I'll start this tutorial by just setting up the board by itself. So if you just want to get the bare bones kit, that's how you would do it, and then I'll hook it up to the phone and then start sending messages. And then later in the tutorial, I'll set up the entire case so that you can make this portable. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so here's what you get in the box, the case, and then there's a bunch of stuff in here. So there's the cover for the case, there's the adhesive for the battery, and then there's the battery in here, and then this is the radio itself. So I'm just going to assemble this with the minimal amount of setup first, and then I'm going to flash it with the Meshtastic firmware, and then I'll connect it to my phone, get it up and running, and once it's running, then after that I will close it down and then assemble all the parts with the case and everything like that. I just want to show you how fast you can get up and running with this, even if you just have the basic board and you don't have the case. All right, so what you need is just the board here. This is the USB-C connection. This is where the antenna goes in, and this is where the battery connects. So for this setup, I'm going to take out the mini antenna here, and this is all you need to get started. Simply just plug this into this port right here. Kind of just snaps into place, and there you go, it pops in. And it's usually a good idea to attach the antenna first because Meshtastic says you can potentially burn out the radio if there's no antenna attached. So you want to do that first. Now let's plug it into the computer and flash the firmware. Okay, so now we're going to flash the firmware, and the firmware, you can think of it as just like software for the device. It's kind of like Windows on your laptop or Mac OS or whatever, right? So this is the website. You can go to meshtastic.org. There's a link in the description below, and this is a free download. So I'm going to just go to downloads here, and then I'm going to go to Web Flasher. And the Web Flasher is just an installer that you can use on a website, and it makes it super easy. You don't have to download anything. This will do it all for you. So that's fantastic. So I'm going to take my USB-C cable here. I'm going to plug it in to my laptop, and then I'm just going to plug it into the Heltec board here, and that will come alive, and you'll see just some random messages. You get the Heltec splash screen, and then it'll try to connect, but there's no software on there, so the connection will fail, and that's okay because this is brand new. So what I'm going to do from here is select the target device. This is going to be the Heltec V3 right there. It's going to give me the latest beta, so you want to use the beta ones because they're stable. The alpha ones are unstable, and you obviously don't want to use that, but it should default to the latest beta. And then you simply hit flash. It'll give you a bunch of updates on what people have done and changed on this, and then you just hit that button, and then I do a full erase and install. So since this is brand new, I don't care, and just simply hit the erase, flash, and install, and then it'll ask you to connect. So I'm going to look for this one here, the CP2102, and it shows that it's paired because it's plugged into the USB cable. So I'm going to connect, and then you'll see down here there'll be some messages on what's going on, and then you'll see the screen go blank on the Heltec. So this will take a little while, and I'll come back when it's done. All right, so once it's finished, you'll see right there it says flashing is 100% complete, and that's the message that you'll get on the Heltec device. And from there, it's ready to go. Real quick, if you're finding this video useful, subscribe to the channel to get more video updates. Okay, once you have that set up, now it's time to pair the board to your phone, and the phone is where we're going to set up the device with all the settings. So first, you want to pair it in Bluetooth. So go to pair your device, and then the device is going to start with Meshtastic, and then the name is here. That's the last few characters of the serial number, so just tap on that, and then it will ask for the number, and the number comes up here, so I'm just going to type that in. All right, so now it's paired. Now I'm going to head over to the Meshtastic app. You can download that from your app store, and that will allow us to really get started with this. Okay, I'm here in the Meshtastic app, and this is already available, so I'm just going to tap on that. And it's going to take a couple seconds. You can see that it's doing something up here, and then it will show as connected. You can tell because you have a green cloud with a check mark in the lower right corner. And the first thing you want to do is set your region. So I'm going to set that to United States, and then hit send on the bottom, and that's going to send the information to the card, and then it's going to reboot it so that the changes are updated. Now you want to go into the channel, so hit this button right here, and that will show you the current channels. And this is the long fast channel, which is the generic public channel. So anything you communicate on this channel will be public, so you obviously don't want to do that. You want to set up your own channel. So you can go to edit, and then you can add another channel here by tapping the plus button. You can give it a name, just call it name for now. And then you can leave these all unchecked to save. All right, once you have that set up, then you will see your new channel here. It has a green lock because that's an encrypted channel. So only the people who are on that channel can see it. The next thing you want to do is tap and drag this up to primary. So you want the phone to, by default, transmit through this channel. Once that's all set up, be sure to hit send. Again, that will send that information over to the board, and it will change the settings. Okay, now you have a private channel. So how do you add people to that channel? So you go back into this button, And then name will be at the top here. So this will be the primary channel. So this is the QR code for that channel. So whenever somebody wants to join your channel, you either send them this URL here by copying here and pasting, or you can have them go into their app, hit this button here, and then hit scan, and that will allow them to scan your barcode, and that will add them to your channel. And to send a message, you simply tap on your new channel there. You can type in the text there, put in whatever, hit the send button, and it will go out to everybody on this named channel. And that's why it's a good idea to buy 2 of these radios, because then you can send back and forth and test it out and see what it really does and get used to how it works, so that you can use it out in the field. Before I put the housing on this radio, there's one more thing that you should take a look at, and that is here. You tap there and then tap this gear icon. That's the settings, and you can change the username. So that would be useful if you want to change your username. And then here for position, you want to turn this off. So make sure that smart position is not enabled, and in GPS mode it is not present. So if you want to be more private, then turn those off. And then hit send, and that will reboot the card again. And this will go pink for a little while it's restarting. And then it will connect again. You'll see the connection happening here, just like that. And then this will turn green. All right, now that that's set up, let's get back into finishing this guy off so that you have an enclosure that you can carry around with you. All right, to assemble this thing, now we're just gonna pull out the USB cable that will cut the power. That's fine, don't worry about it. And then I'm going to take off this antenna just by pulling it out straight from the board. Okay, and then I'm going to get this case, and we're going to start with the case. So the first thing I'm going to do is open this case up. In the instructions it says to put a pair of scissors in there. So I found that that actually works, as weird as that sounds. So you just stick a pair of scissors in the hole, and then you pry it open like that. Now you have the case open. So we're going to work with the bottom here. So the first thing you're going to do is take one of these adhesive double-sided tapes, and then just take off one side, stick it in there, and then remove the other side. All right, now you're going to get your battery out, and then we're going to put the battery in. This is the 1100 milliamp hour, but you can get some bigger ones if you want. All right, so the battery goes in with the wire part towards the hole. So we do it like that, and then we just slide this in there, and this wire part has to go around this little tab there, and then you'll be good to go. And then from there, we want to put in the antenna. So let's put in the other antenna. So we can just stick this antenna on there for now, and then we'll make it pretty later, but this is just temporary to get it going. So now I'm going to put that on the board like so. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to plug in the power. So I'm just going to simply put this in here. And there's, you can see 2 little tabs sticking up at the top there. And that's what goes up on this board, and just slide it into place. There we go. Now the screen will come on because the battery is on. So that's working. And then now I'm going to put this into the cover here. I'm simply going to slide this in like that. And then I'm going to unscrew this. So there's a couple of washers here. So just unscrew that a little bit so that you can fit it in. So there are 2 washers here. I like to put it in between the 2 washers. I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but that makes sense to me. So I'm going to unscrew it enough so that I can put it there, and then I'm going to stick it into this slot so that the plastic is between the 2 washers. And then I'm going to screw it down so that it gets pretty tight. All right, so there it is installed. Now I want to make sure that this board is pretty flat against the front of this case. I just want to make sure that it's flat so nothing gets damaged once I put this in. So I'm going to slip that into there, and then I just want to click that into place like so. And now we have a almost finished device. Now the last thing to do is just to take the screen here, and I'll take the backing off of this, and then just slide that on here like this. It's easier to put one side in first, and then kind of drop it in like that, and then press it down to make sure that it's all nice and set, and then take off this cover piece there. All right, so here's how to use the buttons. The bottom button is simply a reset button, so if you hit that once, it'll restart the device. I guess that's useful if you're having issues with it and need to reboot it quickly. So once it's up and running, you can use this top button to change the pages, and you'll see the dot at the bottom change, and that shows you what page you're on. And then to shut it down, simply hold the top button for about 6 seconds, and then you'll see a message that it's shutting down. Let go of the button, and now it's off. And then to simply start it up again, you hit either of the buttons and it'll turn back on again. Once you get your radio up and running, remember that it's only useful.
So some examples, which he was showing the LoRa 32V3. You can get as cheap as $20 or pre-made units for around 50 or below.
After the video, I've got another question.
Okay.
If you set up the private channel with the encryption, that node, specific node, will not work for a hop if somebody's using the unencrypted channel, right?
If you're on the same frequency, default, the frequency range is broken up into channels. Default channel is channel 20, which equates to 906 point something megahertz. If you're on that channel 20, even though you have a separate private encrypted, it will still go through your
It'll
node.
pop through your node.
Yes. As long
You
as
can't
you're on the,
monitor both at once. You have to.
you can monitor both at once. My nodes, I have the default channel, and then I have a private channel that my family members only have access to, and then a couple more channels. Work channel.
Multiple channels.
Yes.
And
You
the app shows you got a message on the private channel, and then
yes. Yes.
So if you had, your nodes that are up on cell towers, do you have to go and add the channels to each one of those
No.
for them to serve as relays?
No.
So they'll relay.
As long as they're on the same channel, same frequency, they will act as relays.
And they can only be
Channel
on one.
20, it's going to go to like all the unsecured.
Yeah, it'll go through all the unsecured ones, but
So
If
how
I
many
wouldn't know how to
channels
get a
are
hold of,
there
say,
and can you listen to all of them?
you just go to that channel.
you have to have the encryption key for all the channels you want to listen to. I don't know the limit. I've got 4 set up on mine.
So I meant radio channels.
Oh,
You were saying
radio
what channel
channels?
20.
I don't know.
Does everybody use 20 and that's just what it
Everybody
is?
pretty much uses 20 in the US, unless, just if you travel, if you're on 20, you'll be able to communicate through other networks. If you want to set up your own private thing that nobody has access to, then you change the channel, and then they can't use your nodes for hops.
Okay. I kind of hope that that's how it works because then everybody was on the same one, or you could.
See, I was watching a video when they were at convention down there, and they were saying it was getting pretty overloaded because there's so many nodes there.
There's different, what do they call it? There's different presets they're using. Default's long fast, which is a faster modulation with a decently long range, but you can narrow the bandwidth and slow it down and get super long range. But like in those highly congested areas, they're using short turbo, and it seems to work pretty good. The range isn't as good, like distance, but if you got a whole bunch of nodes, you don't really need it. Yeah.
Now, what's the difference between? I'm assuming that since we're talking about Meshtastic in West Virginia, since we're trying to get this, we're looking at staying with Meshtastic. Then what?
Mesh core.
Yeah, mesh core.
Mesh core. What do they call it? Mesh core. There's 2 roles for nodes. They're either companion node, which is like a carry node, or one you got connected to your phone, a personal node, or a router. The companion nodes with mesh core do not relay the messages.
Okay.
Only mesh cores in certain situations would be a better solution, but you have to have an infrastructure. You got to have stationary nodes set up as repeaters. Mesh core allows up to 64 hops as well. They're going all the way across the UK now with mesh core with direct messages. Well, not talking, but you have to have the established infrastructure before mesh core is really viable.
Okay. 'Cause I know the guy that makes those, he was talking about he's starting to make some of the mesh core stuff. And I was just because I'm just this summer I started looking at it,
And yeah,
hardcore, and then say, okay, there's this coming out, and I know at Hamvention the state Ham Fest, we're talking about getting the Meshtastic up, statewide and all that. And I just wondered if as a state, this is what we're trying to do.
I mean, yeah, until you have an infrastructure built up, mesh core is not super viable. Mesh core tries to not. I mean, like we're we're using MQTT and we're linked to like the Huntington Charleston area over the internet. Mesh core doesn't allow you to do the linking over the internet, so it's like
Now, does your node have to be hardwired into your internet, or
no.
is it?
The either through if it's connected to your phone through the app, you can I think it's proxy to MQTT is the setting, and over your Bluetooth connection it'll use your phone's internet.
Okay.
If they are ESP like 32 base boards, they're capable of running Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, so you can set them up on Wi-Fi connected to your home internet, to Starlink, something like that. Um,
And that's the 32 boards.
the ESP32 boards.
Yes.
Yeah, those boards are very common, obvious microcontroller boards.
Yeah. So yeah, they do Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. I mean, there's NRF based boards and ESP based boards. The ESP based boards are more power hungry, but if you need to connect to Wi-Fi, that's kind of where you're at. The NRF boards only do Bluetooth; they don't do Wi-Fi. So, but they last a whole lot longer.
So to connect the nodes to the internet, are you connecting to somebody else's MQTT broker?
Yes,
Okay.
we are connecting to the default Meshtastic MQTT broker. Um, Byron in Huntington has got a MQTT broker set up independent of that they're testing out. Another thing with MQTT is it's zero hop. So if your message goes over MQTT, when it gets to the other internet connected node, it doesn't go anywhere.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you have to be directly connected to internet nodes on that.
To have a hop. Yeah.
So it's either mesh or internet. And
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Now with the MQTT broker that they're testing in Huntington, I mean that's set through the MQTT server that you set up. So the one they're testing has a 7-hop one. So you'll still
just like a scenario would be phone connected to one, and then let's say that you own two nodes, so the other one's internet connect.
mm-hmm.
So you send a message, it hops to the first radio, hops to the second radio, goes over the internet, and then it'll hop from there. Am I understanding that correctly?
The default built into the app, if you use that server, once it comes off of the internet onto another MQTT connected node, it doesn't go anywhere else.
Okay, so I can hop in,
You can,
but I can't hop out. They'd have to be directly connected.
they have to be connected to the internet. So they'll receive it, but it won't go past their node. It's not going over the 906.
So if we had 4 nodes, hop MQTT back, then they have to be directly connected to this node over like Bluetooth or whatever. They couldn't hop to one node and then. Okay. So everybody has to have an internet connection to that case.
Yeah. It's ideally you don't want to use MQTT and you want to have the whole thing over RF.
Yeah. Okay.
So Chris, when you guys put those things 80 feet up the tower, when we start getting in the mountains, 80 feet, 90 feet, 100 feet up the tower, I mean, realistically, 3 hops is going to be a long ways.
Oh yeah, exactly. The Like the one on the tower outside of Fairmont has a direct RF connection to the tower up on the mountain above Elkins. Like it's
I thought, we go camping and some of these campgrounds, there's no cell service at all. And I'd like someone back here to be able to get a hold of us through that. And it sounds like it's eventually maybe that.
eventually it's possible. Topography around here makes it a little harder. I travel a whole lot for work, and like when I'm out west where it's flat, like I'll be connected to nodes 20, 30 miles away. It's 1 watt. Yeah. Yeah, less than a watt. It's I mean, in the app, most of the boards say you're setting it at 28 dB, but realistically, they're putting out like 24 dB.
Yeah, I can tell you this, my home was down in the valley, and I parked up on top of the hill, which sucks at the end of the day, but. Yeah. I have one of the screens that stays on a button in your car,
Mm-hmm.
as kind of like my above ground.
Yeah, relay for.
Where Jason was talking.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin, who's at his house, I can't connect to his node RF from where I'm sitting, but I can connect to mine, and it sends it to him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Kind of like a crossband repeater.
yeah,
Kind
so
of.
it shoots from me to him, and then or me to my car and apart again. From me to my car, it's mile 0.2, according to my watch. I hike it every day. And then from my car to him is about 5.7 according to Google Maps.
Yeah, the potential range is crazy. But.
Just to like put it in perspective, when I flew down to Huntsville last year, at 32,000 feet, I was hitting probably 3 states across.
Yeah.
So
yeah, when you're on a plane, it's
and
crazy.
so occasionally we'll see people fly over, and we'll be picking them up.
Your node list will populate with nodes from other
some
states.
people do canned messages like, "Hey, I'm on flight whatever." And actually, there was one from Long Island I hit, and it said, "Go to this website," and you go to the Discord server and log where they were. But like, I picked up the comms channel, that YouTube channel. I picked up his node, and I was coming into Charlotte for my connection, and he's in Tennessee, and I was picking up his node.
That'd be fun to be a pilot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's unreal.
That's what I was going to ask. In practice, is it similar to radio where you just throw your call sign out? So if you see you're connected to a dozen nodes, do people just send a message like on the open channel and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Like, or does that?
Yeah, it happens randomly. I mean, it's
Like, so it's not really about contacts like ham radio, but like just a strike up conversation with somebody you happen to
Ham radio guys have ragged you.
oh yeah. I mean that's great. That's great. Utilize it the best way you know how. It's like
you could like there's the West Virginia mesh channel that we just talk on for it. Then there's like the open channel. Derek and I have a channel where we work together. That whenever we had more people on it at the time, but we were able to send messages, from the office and such. Like I said, Derek and I, we started May. I just saw May last year's when I built my first node.
yeah.
Like we were the only two in the area.
I probably was 6-8 months ahead of that.
Yeah.
I built a couple and tried to get people on board.
Your one that's on your node that's on a tower. How high above ground level? How high is it actually?
I don't know what the elevation of the tower, like the base of the tower is, but it's 80 feet above W8SB. The
My
70
is 1,400 feet high.
Yeah.
It's 1,400 feet. I don't know. We've got a 20-foot tower up there. I don't know if it'd be.
I mean, any elevation always helps.
Yeah.
Same as radio.
It'd be nice to get
if you can get above, the trees, that greatly helps.
There's no trees.
Yeah.
So if they were heard anybody thinking of sending one of these up on a satellite?
No satellite communication, but there have been people who put them on drones, and then my next experiment is
Drones,
going to be
balloons.
a balloon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll
I wouldn't
they'll
try
put them
setting
on
them up
weather
on
balloons
at
and
like
send them across the
250 feet.
country.
Well,
So
tell you
I have
what,
the touch line.
I wish
in the
that we
middle
had
somewhere. The
this
launch
back
line
when
or
I was
and
doing
it's
weather
loaded
balloon
from
stuff
Pittsburgh
because
to
we needed to get
Alabama,
telemetry off
towards the edge
balloons.
of where
We
the
used Wi-Fi where
I was
we
getting
hooked up
notice
a home
aimed
grade
about
router
100 miles away.
with
I would probably
antennas and we
clean that
pointed
window
them
with
at
that
the
bigger
balloon.
test.
Oh,
And we
yeah.
were like
But
50% packet drop, but we managed to hold an
Yeah.
SSH connection somehow.
That's crazy.
And I got
But yeah, I mean, you can
and there's a
you can hook lots of different telemetry sensors up.
frequency 30.
If you look at the
Yeah,
rack
and
wireless
communications
boards, they're like
Yeah,
plug and play
two
with
contacts.
all kinds of
Two
different
contacts flying.
sensors.
Yeah, I wonder about getting one of these hooked up to a Pi.
They
Yes,
actually make-
that's easy to do. I mean, the best way to do it is over serial. I've got one set up running the comms channel, created a BBS server that you can run on them, and then you can leave messages for people who aren't connected. I mean, just like BBS for ham radio way back when. But
If anybody is looking for LoRa content for boards, be cautious and make sure that there is mesh core or Meshtastic versions for it. Because there's many other things that use LoRa.
oh
There
yeah,
was a lot of old crypto mining equipment out there that uses LoRa, and unless there's software ready for it, it doesn't work for Meshtastic.
Okay.
And then in that video, when he was putting the
wanna
things
make sure it's
together, he had that
Meshtastic
little white
stuff.
battery connector that's called a JST connector. Be very cautious whatever you buy and check your polarity of your wires.
yeah.
Because all those
Sometimes
little JST connectors come flipped every which way from every company when you buy things and start mixing together. Your board's one way, your solar controller's another, your battery's another. Flip everything and make sure that your pins are lined up. Maybe 8, 9 hours.
Can you leave it plugged in?
yes.
This one here, when I built it, it's 1100 mAh battery. It'll last me 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah.
That's with GPS, the internal GPS disabled.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just
What
a
board does
board
he have?
full screen.
It's a rack wireless.
I wish my V3 would last that long, but
I mean, I've got the WizMesh Pocket over there in the box. That's my carry node. It lasts about 2 weeks if GPS is disabled. It'll last about 4 or 5 days with GPS, the internal GPS turned on. You can always, if you want GPS, you can always share your phone's GPS over Bluetooth to it, and it'll use your phone's GPS instead.
That's another thing on those boards that have the Wi-Fi. Those will eat your battery a lot more too.
Yeah.
So the fixed node I have at home, I did fixed position.
Yeah,
I looked up the coordinates, went into the settings, typed it, and turned the GPS itself off to save the battery power because it's not moving. It's 30 feet on a TV mast pipe above my house behind Buchanan Toyota.
For privacy, did you move offset your coordinates a little bit?
There's a precision slider that you can adjust, so it's kind of a proximity thing. So it's in the neighborhood.
Yeah. So you're the tire head. My farm's on Lick Run.
Oh, her mom lives in Lick Road.
That's down there.
Yeah, in the ripples.
Riffles. You know where when you come up from the Brushy Fork side, there's a little pond, there, the little sprinkler head in it.
Yeah.
The next driveway up, it's her parents' house.
Okay.
Sorry, man. Did you say 11? Yours 1100 or 11,000?
1100.
Okay, so I got 3,000. Granted, I've never went more than 3 days without plugging anything back in, but that's it, but usually 3 days, unless 15 minutes. Don't yet.
Radio guys.
I think it was bought on Amazon. Yeah, that's by that Meshnology. They sell little kits. You get case, battery, antenna, development board, all
You know what's going to happen to these ham radio guys? Pretty soon, one of these little things will be putting out 1,500 watts. Won't be able to stand it until there's a 400-foot
You're allowed
wire
to.
antenna.
You're allowed to as long as you remove the encryption. There's a checkbox in the settings that says I'm a ham radio operator. Turn the encryption off.
Close in their pockets with them.
You can buy
Have a fun
amplifiers.
See, this goes way off
There's definitely potential for it. Now that
We'll be repeating that along with the open channel like no tomorrow.
Station G2 is the highest power consumer one, which technically is illegal to use on full power without a ham radio license and disabling encryption. But it's almost 6 watts. You can get some serious range out of it. It's got a pretty good filtering built in, LNA built
But if
in.
you have a license and you do turn off the encryption, it's perfectly legal.
It's perfectly legal, yeah.
And if we work over your Meshtastic network,
The unencrypted network will, I forget which way it is, but there's they don't speak well with the encrypted network, even if they're on the same channel. One can hop over the other, but the other way can't hop over. I can't remember which one it is right now.
Encrypted can't hop.
That makes the most sense, but I feel like it's the other way or something.
Well, it would
No,
be
yeah,
illegal
yeah.
to transmit the encrypted signal.
Yeah. So yeah, the encrypted can't hop over the unencrypted.
I mean, hey, they finally are just now doing stuff with 7200.
you got more slides, it'd take a long time for them to catch up to you.
There are a few.
Not a good.
There's not very many though.
Okay, so you might
Yeah.
go for it.
Okay, so short demo. Let's see if this loaded. Nope, did not. I can never get this thing to work right. There.
One of these while you're setting things up. Shouldn't.
What am I doing wrong?
It's just taking forever.
Well, it sat there doing our whole presentation and it didn't load.
Huh. Yeah, the web client isn't great. Do you happen to have MeshSense installed? Yeah.
What is it?
MeshSense. I like MeshSense on the computer. Yeah, the web client's not. I don't know why. It's like you have to unpair Bluetooth every time I've tried to use